Greetings everyone, welcome to Nick's Mods. Today I want to share the joy of brick-built dinosaurs. I have long been alienated by Jurassic World's smooth organic dinos made of half a dozen pieces. It was one thing when these were small, but now they just blow up prices and necessitate adding a jeep or a truck so there's some kind of building experience when you might just want a dinosaur, but they can't sell that by itself, not like this. Enter 2024's creator T-Rex, itself a reimagining of the iconic and immortal Mighty Dinosaurs. I enjoyed this so much I was just sad there weren't more besides the alt builds, so I built a few more. Most of these LEGO dinosaurs and other miscellaneous prehistoric animals are mocks designed by people on Rebrickable, and I'll be including links to every single one in the description and a pinned comment. While I have modified them all to some degree, these are not my designs. This is more of a mock showcase of what the LEGO Dino community is capable of. How many are we looking at? 15. We're looking at 15 animals today. I noted in the 2024 recap that the T-Rex's proportions feel more like a Giganotosaurus, so I reversed the finger connection and squeezed an extra digit on each hand and changed the head's shape with some curved slopes. And just like that, this lanky, emaciated T-Rex is a pretty convincing Giganotosaurus. You too can convert one giant theropod into another with just a few slopes and hinges. It might be the easiest mod I've ever made. The first fan design I tried out was Domark's Ankylosaurus, a beautiful wild safari animals alt build. The version you can build with just those pieces already looks great, but I did make some changes. I cleaned up the underside and legs, broke up the back's colors with some half circles, modded the tail's design, and added some bits to the head to hold the wedge plates on the sides in place. Rebrickable models aren't often as stable as official LEGO builds, but aside from a somewhat fragile mug, this is a remarkably solid model, and looks great if oversized with the T-Rex, Giga, whatever. And even after all the others I've built, it's one of my favorites. Credit to Domark. Next, Ambrosino's Gigantoraptor, built from the majestic tiger. That butthole cat has been the basis of many dinosaurs, including most Gigantoraptors, to the point I do get a little sick of all the orange and black and white. But this big bird wears those colors like a glove, including a blue splash on the face. Unfortunately, those hips are not built for play, and I may try going for stronger ones someday, but if you balance it right, perhaps with a couple extra pieces in the feet, it stands gorgeously. Also built this nest the Gigantoraptor just raided, adding a bit of yolk for effect. And a half-eaten theropod that I doubt was looking after the nest. Next, some smaller dinos, official ones this time. Yeah, LEGO does release some proper bricky dinosaurs under the Jurassic World banner, mostly bundled with magazines. This Dilophosaurus and Pyroraptor went through mostly similar changes. I changed the Pyroraptor's blue feathers to dark blue, shrunk both dinos' feet, and gave them side-to-side head articulation. I also changed the Dilophosaur's head shape and removed the frills since the real thing didn't have them. These scale pretty well with minifigs. Well, as long as you call the Pyroraptor something bigger like a Dakotaraptor. I also eventually modded this small Triceratops into a very large Protoceratops, shortening the body, thinning the legs, drooping the tail, and replacing the horns with gentle eyes and the frill with a heart-shaped one. It blends in perfectly with these trees from the Safari Animal set, which I've used as a stand for Build It Max Ornithochirus. This is a fully original build, not an alt of an existing set. Dark gray on light gray with a little tan may not sound that exciting, but Mac's use of color-locked joints to fill out this creature is simply masterful, though I did swap the legs for shorter ones. I love how clean it looks. I also built their Corythoraptor, a smaller relative of the Gigantoraptor. A nifty little build with a trick that gives it narrower hips than the Raptor and Dilophosaurus, but which unfortunately can't stand without modification. So I changed the feet, added some plumage to the tail and legs, and swapped the dark tan crest with an orange one to reference its bigger cousin. Here's one I didn't plan. Babylon builds Pterodactylus, a tiny pterosaur made from this toucan. I had an unopened one sitting around, a gift with purchase, and am I really gonna say no to a pretty much free dinosaur? Well, pterosaur. They're not dinosaurs. It's clunky, sure, but I'm stunned by what they were able to pull off with these extremely limited parts. It has such a delightful, happy pop of color to the rest of these. It would have been enough to leave those gray clips as empty feet, but they added these green highlights that could be for display purposes. I tried adding slopes and wedges to the wings to sharpen them and clean it up, but it just felt wrong. So all I changed was a rounded plate on the belly, cause the other one looked kinda funny poking out the back. Lovely little build. I always liked the look of this creator crocodile, but held off because it was just too darn big to interact with minifigures as a modern crocodile, or even as a Chima legend beast. But there used to be some pretty huge crocs preying on dinosaurs. I could have just dropped this in with the rest of these, but it bugged me seeing the exact same colors on the Giga. So I switched the olive green elements for sand green, and tan for light yellow. Not all of the original molds exist in that last color, mainly the inverted slopes, so I had to find alternatives. These shallow curved ones work out for the best, I think, flattening the underside and making the creature feel even more massive. This mod isn't actually finished. There are a couple of molds I have yet to substitute, but the minute LEGO releases them in this color, I'm jumping on them. This Deinosuchus' cool colors now stand out from the Giga's warm colors and complement them. LEGO Otaku's Parasaur is perhaps the oldest unofficial design on this entire list, uploaded to Rebrickable in 2020, and I've felt that building it. There are some tricks that I'd consider outdated today, but also some I've never seen before. It mostly holds up, and remains easily the best Parasaur you're gonna find anywhere. It also comes in 2 flavors. This is the bioluminescent variety from Jurassic World's Camp Cretaceous. There's also a more realistic dark tan version, but I prefer what this adds to the other dinos. You could get both and say the purple one's a male. One's enough for me though, having another dark tan dino in mind. There's no shortage of good Stegosaurus designs, but I went with Mock Lobster's Arc Stego. It's inspired by the game, but passes fine for a real Stego with some tweaks. I altered the Thagomizer, shortened the front legs, shrunk the head slightly, and streamlined the thighs, which were so big and smooth in a way that clashed with the body, visually and literally. When the little wedges didn't pop off, the whole leg did. I made a more solid connection and changed the feet to bend forward more. In isolation, the colors are a little plain. I even thought of spicing it up with red plates, a green body, and a yellowish belly as a Jurassic Park reference. But I love how it looks with the others already. It's a walking mid-tone, even with the black plates adding some contrast. And these are the best integrated plates I've seen on a LEGO Stego. Let's wrap up with some marine reptiles. And one fish. This Elasmosaurus has been modified more times than anything else on this channel. It began life as a creator shark, which I gloomed for hidden side. Then I sacrificed it to recreate Bloop Serpentisuchops when I'd only finished a few dinos so far. Then I just kept adding more pieces, changing the whole structure, and now it's an Elasmosaur. This, more than anything else, I wanted to feel like an official design, tucking away the neck joint inside the body, just like the Gigas. The base of the neck is pretty sturdy, made of 2 mixel joints. It can only move up and down, and only so far, but it's a realistic range of movement for this creature, and I'm especially proud of how the joint is completely hidden when the neck straightens out. The rest of the neck had more joints, shorter segments for a time, but plesiosaur necks were pretty stiff, not snake centaurs. These fewer joints are more stable and result in an even longer neck, longer than the body and tail. For the last neck segments, and the fins, I drew from this adorable, smaller plesiosaur species designed by Pokmok. You can build their version with just this dolphin and turtle set. I added more articulation to the tail and rear flippers and removed the bottom jaw, cute as it was. And it goes so nicely with the Elasmosaurus. I used Pokmok's stand interchangeably between them. And I modded this fish. Just gave it these freckled alien printings from last year's space sets and changed the tail shape. I don't know what fish species this is, and I wasn't going to count it, but if you want, that actually makes 16 critters this episode. Behold, Common Descent's Archelon, the largest sea turtle to ever live. It feels slightly undersized next to some of the more oversized models, but scales perfectly with minifigs. It's such a clean design. I haven't even modded it aside from giving it brighter eyes. I did mod the stand though, with some dolphin and turtle leftovers. Lastly, I pieced together some terrain side builds designed by Marcharius, Gabizon, and Creator builds, just to spruce things up a bit. I had a great time building these animals, tweaking most of them slightly, and a few much more extensively. I have several other ancient brick-built creatures waiting in the wings, but that's enough for now. I'll save them for part 2 later in the year. I want to add sauropods, design new color schemes for the T-Rex alt builds so they don't blend together, and you know I'm gonna get that Mosasaurus. Maybe even change its colors. I'm just happy to see more of this sort of thing officially. But for now, I hope I've shown the beauty, the variety, and sheer joy of brick-built dinos, and things that aren't dinos. That's it for today. Check out my books on Amazon and itch.io, and my Patreon page to get videos like this early, your name in the credits, behind the scenes content, a patron Discord server, signed copies of Planet Ripple, and maybe even your own LEGO Rewind episode. See you next mod. Toodles!